Welcome.
What? We're live. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I don't know who's even out here. I haven't even been looking. Oh, goodness.
It's the
Who we got?
usual riffraff.
Craig, Bear Droid, Killant. Welcome.
A Gurk's out there lurking too. We got
Gurk's out.
a Gurker lurker.
Gurkler. That's kind of like Morkborg is Gurkler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you'll notice that we're sans a Sandlin tonight.
Yeah. Really, Sans a Sandlin.
Mm-hmm.
Not. I mean, we've been Sans a Sandlin at start for 6 weeks, but he's gone. He's really gone this time.
Oh yeah, for sure this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got fed up. Like I saw that he wasn't. He took an inordinately long pee break, and I was like, you know what? He's just blocked.
Done.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
Pull the plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a long time coming.
I think that's when
he's.
That's just it. Like I don't think anybody
it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I don't think anybody's surprised by it.
No.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think Chad is either.
My only surprise is that it wasn't me first, but I'm glad to be here. So, I'm glad. I'm happy to throw Troy under the bus to stay at least just a little bit longer before Zac completely cleans house. Yeah. And just goes solo dolo.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to remove things one block at a time and just see, what settles after you do it, right?
It's like a chemical formula. Let me see what happens if I take one variable out of this formula and see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where that's where the sulfurous smell was coming from. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I expect to have to remove both, but you never know. Like you start.
That's funny.
TPK,
Yes, kill a lot. That's actually a very well stated. Yeah, Zac TPKs everything in life, including his hosts.
Yeah.
For the hosts.
I ran 3 sessions of Dune this week and killed no one. So.
Oh man, you're getting soft.
And I even had a combat, like the first combat in I don't even want to 8 sessions, 6 somewhere in that neighborhood of 7 or 8 sessions. First combat, and it went great. Nobody died. It was very fascinating. I was really excited to get to run 3 mini sessions basically for 3 different chunks of the group.
Which scale of combat was it? Was it like
skirmish?
Skirmish. Okay, so then I'm curious how many characters did you have, and how long did it take?
It took 40 minutes.
Okay.
It took 40 minutes, and there was 2 player characters. There was 5 enemy combatants and 1 ally combatant.
Oh wow!
So it was a sizable fight, and it had several different zones, and I wanted it to be a real fight, because we hadn't had one, right? And I was like, okay, well, this is a good opportunity to really see, can we handle the full, a full bore combat in 2D20, and the answer was yes. It was really great. It's not something that we played through and I'm like, oh my gosh, we were so missing this. We've got to do this more often. It was cool. It felt like a good resolution. It felt like we were playing the same game by and large. But I was not immediately planning the next one.
Gotcha. Interesting. Any player feedback on it?
They basically were like, it worked. They were kind of surprised.
But they weren't going headlong into, well, we should do that. To your point, right? Not just it sounds like it was a uniform.
Cool.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It was like we had enough of the rules, and unlike D&D, I guess there's a little bit of this in D&D too, but most of the rules from all the other dice rolling that they've been doing for 8 weeks applied in combat. They just had like one or two extra modular components that they had to take on to do the combat, and so it didn't necessarily feel like, other than the fact that we moved to a new map for the first time in 14 weeks.
Right, because everything. Are you playing off of like the
Roll20?
Well, you're on Roll20, but your primary map, I guess, is just like your overland
The
map.
landing page,
Yeah.
landing
A
page,
landing
and
page.
then
Yeah, gotcha.
we just do handouts, right? Like there's a ton of visuals. Like I always have graphics, but I don't move to maps, and I certainly don't move to maps that have zones
Mm-hmm.
and where you move. Like they haven't moved a token the entire campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's
That's saying
really,
something. And
really
how many
great.
sessions
Yeah,
have you run so far?
I think it's been 8, something around 8.
That's saying
I mean,
something. Like they haven't swung a single
mm-mm,
blade or
mm-mm,
like what activated a single
mm-mm.
personal shield in 8 sessions. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it just speaks to like that's the kind of game though, right? This is not
Mm-hmm,
about like if you get into like a hand-to-hand combat or any kind of a skirmish or anything like that, it usually means that something has gone horribly awry, and it
mm-hmm.
should only happen every once in a while.
100%.
Otherwise, it's always like political maneuvering, chessboard
And you know
pieces,
what?
right?
In order to do this one, I had to do a flashback. But I wanted to do a flashback anyways,
I
and it
gotcha.
made sense for those characters to have like a little combat because it
Mm-hmm.
was the heir and his bodyguard as a flashback. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
let's do a little let's set a scene that ends with a conflict so that we can experience a conflict and also have something special for them that shows like why they work well together. And it worked perfectly because the bodyguard just kicked ass
Mm-hmm.
the entire conflict, and the heir was so bad at it. It was so fun, but so bad at it that he had to go like run and hide for the last third of the conflict, or he was going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it like played out, and you're like, yeah, that's a memorable moment. It has elements. The plot of that little flashback has elements that'll carry forward for him, but we also got to see what we haven't been able to see for the past 7 sessions, which is this bodyguard is a great fighter. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason he's here. So, uh, Craig's asking a couple questions. He's asking
Okay.
about your cookie jar. That is John's dwarven cookie jar.
Yes, it is.
Christmas dwarven cookie jar. So it comes out during the holidays.
Yep. It'll only be out for the next 6 days, and then 6 or 7 days, and then
And then it goes away.
goes back in
And then you open your window and you smash it, and then on November 28th you order another one.
That's why, right?
And
That would be very dwarven, wouldn't it? It's almost like that,
yeah.
Thor, smash
Mm.
another, like that's like the tradition, right? You have to,
Yeah.
it has even it's the exact same one every single time.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it must be. Yeah.
right, this is my advent calendar, right? There are 25 cookies in here, and I've gone through 19 of them right now. But it's on Christmas
That would be
Day.
that would be an incredible test of willpower.
Oh my god.
Be like, there's 25 cookies in this jar.
Well, it
One a day
depends if it's
for the
what kind of
month of
cookie it is,
December.
really. If it's all fortune cookies, I'll be fine. I can wait, especially if I have to eat them as part of the tradition. Like I don't know anybody that just that's foaming at the mouth to eat a fortune cookie. So maybe that would be it. But if it's something like, oh man, macadamia nut. Oh god, get out of my face.
Oh
Oreos.
yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
it's not gonna last.
Yeah, yeah. I obsessed for a while about pumpkin Oreos.
What? That sounds like an abomination. Is it any good?
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh.
That was like several years ago at this point, but like that was excellent
See, I'm
because
not.
the interior. Think about the
Mhm.
interior, right? Like that cream has almost the exact same texture as like a pumpkin pie,
Sure.
and the crust has almost the same texture as a pie crust.
Mhm.
So when you eat it, it's like eating a bite of pumpkin pie with a bit more crust than you're used
Mhm.
to. And I'm like, yes, another,
Right.
right? Like,
Another. I love pumpkin pie. I'm probably like my wife will make a pumpkin pie every Thanksgiving, just because it's
yeah.
for me. It's like it doesn't feel like Thanksgiving unless there's one out on the table. That's just a me thing. No one else in the house eats it, so I feel like just the grossest human being in the world because I'm the only one that's going in for slice after slice over the next 3 to 4 days to go
I'll
through the
tell you,
pie.
I'll tell you a great story. I adore pumpkin pie, but like 3 years ago, we were over at my folks' house for Christmas, and my mom is a great cook, caterer, and she made a pumpkin pie, and I ate I got a big old piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put it in my mouth, bit down into a block of nutmeg that had not been ground,
Yeah.
and just nutmeg spice invaded
Mm-hmm.
like my being. And it was devastating.
You can go
Like,
on, like I can go another year without eating a pumpkin pie at this point.
well, what it is that if you give me a pumpkin pie and it has nutmeg in it from here on out, or anything really, but especially pumpkin pie, if it has nutmeg in it, I can only do a little piece.
Mm.
Like I just can't do much because my body is in panic mode. Now, if you do pumpkin pie without nutmeg, all day
Mm-hmm.
long. But it ruined me. I like. Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, the spice flowed better. Good
The spice
job.
did float, right?
Yes, I became the Kuzat's Haderach. Yeah.
So I had a similar thing happen, but it wasn't nutmeg. I bit into like grit, like a really small stone or something like that. I'm not sure if it was from the stoneware that my
Yeah.
sister-in-law had
Yeah.
used to cook it in, or if it was from
Mm,
the pie
mm.
filling that she used, or what. But it was probably a good.
Do
Oh
you
man.
gum pie now?
Oh,
Like
100, yeah,
that's
100%.
no.
Like every time that I associate whenever I eat a pumpkin pie, I'm like, please don't let there be a stone or whatever it is in this. And I mean, it was like complete shocker because when you're eating a pumpkin pie is for me the crust, the exterior crust is the only really crusty part. Everything else
Yeah.
is kind of like a more of a gummy,
Soft. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so I'm anticipating like I could be an old man and mash this with no teeth and it's fine. So as soon as my teeth go down, like chomp down, oh my, it was miserable. It was absolutely. I was convinced
This
that I had cracked a tooth.
this is what our audience craves.
Isn't it?
Um.
This is what we were. This is what they came to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. 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 I'll tell you. Listen. Last one. I can't remember what it was, like a rash or it was something, and it wouldn't go away. It was on my hands. Years. This has been maybe 5 years ago, and I went to the doctor. Couldn't like they gave me like a cream or something, and I was like not working, and I was like looking for remedies, right?
Mm.
Desperate, and online someone said, well, if it's this rash, and it was like, yeah, that's exactly what it is, and they're like, oh, you can get rid of that by taking oregano.
Taking
And
oregano to
I was
what
like,
degree?
yeah, like
In
you just
what
rub
fashion?
oregano on your wrist, like
No,
that
it's a
doesn't
suppository,
seem.
man. It's fine. You'll be
Yeah,
fine.
exactly, exactly. Uh, and anyhow, the eventual answer was that you needed to get like essential oil oregano and drink it
Oh, dude, no.
like
Mm-mm.
like 3 times. You're supposed to do it like 3 times, like every other day or something for a week or whatever,
That
right? And
person
they're
does
like,
not
it'll
like
take
you.
care of it. And I
Mm-mm.
was like, all right, sure, I'm
Mm-hmm.
desperate. That's what every essential oil story starts with.
Yep.
I was desperate,
Yep.
and I was
Oh
desperate
man.
in a bad place,
I'm.
and they cornered me.
And
Um,
it burned. Did it burn? Was it
yeah,
like this?
so, so
It was like this.
so I
Yeah.
remembered I was at work. I was where I used to run a sign company, and I I got this bottle in of essential oil oregano at work in the mail, and I'm like, all right, here we go, and I got a spoonful because that's when like a little spoonful of it, and down the hatch, and it was like, of course, it was like this, right? In hindsight, it's like, of course, but it was like a I got a coating, an oily coating from all the way on the roof of my mouth, all the way down my throat of heavy, floral,
Mm-hmm.
intense oregano. And it would not go away.
Mm-mm.
It was just, you would just sit there and gag and gag and gag. And
Oh
just
man.
anytime you breathe, then it was like, oregano. And then, just,
That sounds like the herb wars. Like like
yeah,
whenever all the people die and the herbs become sentient, like
yeah,
that's the final
yeah,
death cry
yeah,
of
yeah.
thyme or rosemary.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And the best way I could describe it is like go out into your garden in the summer and grab the biggest flower you can
Mm-hmm.
and just put it in your mouth
Oh man.
and just roll your tongue and roof of your mouth around on that floral, like velvety, oily texture, and then swallow it, and then just
Ugh.
like
So
let it sit there for.
I'm so
No,
triggered.
it didn't. No, it did not.
Of course, it
And
didn't
okay, so
work.
it
Of
did not
course, it
work,
didn't.
Killot, and also, it wasn't even bear. It was not even bear. It was not even pizza burps. It was like, I believe it's probably this way with any spice because nutmeg's the same way by and large. I think from that experience, but like, there's a point in spice in which if you load up on that spice, it ceases to become that flavor,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes like it evolves, or devolves
Mm-hmm.
into like a monster. and
Oh.
and so like it's the same thing with oregano, where if like you go eat Italian or pizza or whatever, and you can taste oregano, and I'm like, my body is warning me that
Mm-hmm.
we are approaching a
We're
danger zone.
meeting the threshold
Yeah, 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 yeah.
of herbal
Yeah,
usage.
it's not quite as bad, but man,
Oh
yeah.
man,
Okay,
I had
so
a similar
story.
thing that happened to me too, where I sing in my church, and we have do like a Christmas program, and every year without fail, the beginning of December, like a week before I'm supposed to sing, I'll always get sick, some kind of sinus infection or something. And it was really nasty one year, and so I told a woman at church, or she heard about it or whatever, and she sends me a message on Facebook. Hey, I heard you were sick. I'm gonna have my daughter bring by a vial of some essential oils for you to drink, and it's just a little mixture that I put together, and it'll knock it right out. It's no big deal. And I'm like, first of all, this is witchcraft. Like this woman is from church, right? And so, but I'm like, whatever. Like I respect her, and to your point, I was desperate because I
Yeah,
have to. I need my voice,
yeah.
right?
No,
Yeah,
no sane,
yeah.
rational person is like, yeah, I'll drink some oil.
They feed on your desperation. That's what these oil
Yeah,
pushers do. That's the
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so it comes, and it's like not like a vial. This thing is like a shot glass. Had to have been at least a good like 2 ounces
yeah,
of this oil, and
yeah,
I pour it out, and it smelled. And it had it. There's no way that it was like even 4 or 5 oils. It was just like, I think it was just like whatever was left over at the bottom of the vial. She just couldn't use it. It went into her spit bucket, the equivalent of an oil bin.
Well, it may have been a spit bucket from
Probably
everybody else who
was.
passed before.
That's what it was. And what she was doing is trying to build my immunity to sickness in the future. I drank this thing in my kitchen, and it was like drinking turpentine. There was
Hmm.
just I couldn't taste anything. Like, I'm sure there was like peppermint and thieves and oregano, rosemary. Who knows what was in it? But I didn't taste any of it. All I tasted was
Satan.
burning. It was like
Yeah,
napalm that went down my throat, and
yeah,
it aerosolized and went up into my sinuses and
yep,
just lit
yeah.
me on fire. And did it work? Hell no, it didn't work. It didn't do
No.
anything. It probably actually made it worse. It probably it protracted the healing process of whatever it was that I was going through. It's devilry, absolute.
Yeah, it was the worst. Yeah, Girk, this is what happens.
Ooh, John,
This is the
thank you
episode.
so
No,
much that it's
this is
my fault,
we're
Girk.
on
I
rails.
appreciate
This is
that.
our Christmas episode. It's
That's
it's
right.
all about spices and cooking. So
That's right.
be ready.
Look, and you know what? You have only Craig to blame because Craig mentioned the cookie jar, and that's the trail that we went down from there. So
Yeah,
there
yeah,
you
of
go.
course. All
I
right.
think
Well,
it was a
here.
worthy. I think it was a worthy deterrent. So
Mm, mm. Well, here. And
I'm the
you know
common
what?
denominator.
We can go. We
Thanks.
can go as far off rails as we want because Troy's really the person who edits these, and
Mm.
so the more we go off rails tonight, the worse his job becomes. That's a win, right?
That's a true test of how well we've done right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, here, let's you know what, Girk, fine, fair enough. You can be the adult. Pull us back
You
in.
could be the adult.
Troy got a booster,
Yes.
vaccine booster, yesterday, and in his words, he thought he was going to die today. He is much better. I am recording, Craig. Thank you. And yeah, this could be 4 minutes. Yeah. Um. uh, but yeah, he's doing a lot better now, but he's still not doing great, and
Yeah.
so he's gonna sit out. All right, well, let's do this. John and I have a couple of fun, like, year-end episodes for you guys. We're going to roll right through them real quick. And for Troy's benefit, we're going to give a little pause, and then we're going to dive in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the Bite Size Gaming Podcast, the podcast that's serving up a buffet of RPG topics to get you through your week. My name is Zac, and the host joining me this evening is the Dwarven DM, John Christian.
I feel like I should do some kind of hello, by the way. I should do some kind of like really zany, wacky, hello everybody, and welcome, and something. Since Troy's not here, this is really bizarre.
It's your opportunity, and you're just...
I just failed it. Like, I got in my head too much about it, maybe? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I did that awkward opening just for Troy, because he's not here, because somebody had to do it. You know, so I'm picking up his slack because he's a slacker.
100%. So today we are going to do a couple fun things. We thought about doing a Kickstarter corner, but here's the thing. It's the end of the year. It's around Christmas. There's a few Kickstarters going on right now, but there's not a lot. There's not a lot. And let me put this in a way. Most people with common sense keep their distance from running a campaign right now because nobody has any money. No money to spend on things that aren't going to be deliverable by Saturday.
Right.
So we decided that instead of talking about upcoming Kickstarters or current Kickstarters, we're going to talk about Kickstarters that have already happened. John, I think we're going to start off our recording tonight with a talk of our favorite Kickstarters of 2021. You can maybe rephrase this or rebrand this as like, what products have we bought in 2021 that did we kickstart in 2021 that we are most excited about, right?
Yeah, we may have actually got it in our hands, maybe had a chance to read it already, maybe we haven't, but they're the ones that we're the most juiced up about, 100%.
Yeah. So Troy or John and I pulled up our top fives, made a top 5 list of the projects that we're most excited about that we backed, and we're going to run through those. And I think we're gonna have some crossover in these lists. Number 2 might surprise you. It's not gonna surprise you. We've talked about, I think, all 100%. We have talked about all of these at least once on this podcast in the last year. You know about all of these. You are going to be nodding your head. Now, I think that we've got maybe a couple surprises at what slipped in to these rankings. But we're going to run through these. Some of these are really close to delivering. Some have already delivered, and some are still a ways out. I'm excited. And then we'll see where we go from there. John, let's start at number 5, and let's work our way up to number 1. What do you have at number 5, Mr. Christian?
So number 5, I've got Tomb of Immolation, which was one of our the Zine Quest pickups. I got the physical product in. I got the PDF in prior to that and had a chance to look at it. It's very old. It's OSR. It's got everything in it that I'm kind of looking for. The artwork is gorgeous. The vibe is really good, and it's got a good cross of OSR mechanics, and there's some plugged-in 5e stuff. It beat my expectation. The presentation was really good. I'm really looking forward to the next product that they put out as a result of it. So that now they're on my radar to where you did such a good job, which is what I would hope out of any Kickstarter that I do, is that I love it enough to come back and to put you on my radar to look for you again. So hoping that they've already said they've got a 2022 2022 plan for like maybe 1, even 2 Kickstarters in the hopper. So man, I really liked it. It's just it's really simple. It's probably like 40 or 50 pages long. There's not a ton to it, but there's just, I really, really liked it. It's everything that they said it would be, and then some.
And you and Troy got to interview the creators.
We did. They were a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
That was back during our Zine Quest era, right?
Yep.
That was cool. And I've got to talk with some of them since. Really awesome, guys. I am waiting on my copy, but it should be. I have got one on order. So.
Oh, did you not? Were you a part of the Kickstarter and you hadn't
I
gotten it yet, or did you pick it up separately?
No, I picked it up separately as an add-on for another Kickstarter.
I got you.
So and I'm just waiting on that. So it's not a big deal.
Well, it's really good. I'm like, I think as part of this top five, I'm hoping that those that are listening and watching at home, that this is like nobody gave this to us for free or anything like that. I just want to make sure we put that out there that these are the ones that either caught our eye or just kind of like tapped into something into us that we really, really love. And this one was one that it lived up to the hype. It gave me more than I'd asked for whenever I got it. What I was expecting was really cool, evocative art, a couple of neat ideas that I could steal from. Instead, what I got was I want to run the full adventure from start to finish. It's really, really good. And that doesn't happen very often, right? There's not these days. A lot of the times, I cobble together something from 4 or 5 different sources, or I'll use different books as inspiration for something that I'm trying to do, as opposed to I want to run it from end to end. So this one was definitely one that stood out to me.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to follow that up with another 5e product. This is the only 5e product that I have on my list now. That I'm saying that with a nod towards I can only say that in a half serious way, right? Like there's something on my list that skirts into 5e. But I really am digging Inferno, Dante's Guide to Hell for 5e.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why. It's made by Acheron Books, and they are the people who did Brand Colonia. And if we were going to talk about the book that I got in this year that blew me away and was exactly what they presented and then some, it was Brand Colonia. And that was that Italian spaghetti fantasy setting for 5e. Amazing book, amazing delivery, really fun. And as much as I thought that the premise of that book was fun and interesting, the art's gorgeous, Inferno is really cool. And I mean, they sold an art book along with it. I was already excited, and then I got Brand Colonia in, and I'm like, Inferno is going to be awesome. It just got me super pumped.
And so you said that, had you gotten this one yet, and you've actually taken a look at it, or is this one that you're still waiting to come in?
Nope. I don't expect to get that one.
Because I'm looking at the Kickstarter now, and it said that the anticipated delivery was December, but it looks like with everything else that's been going on, that they've been pushed out to 2022, first Q1 maybe.
Yep. And that's probably my suspicion is that's going to be the PDF. So I'm probably not going to get this until spring. Would be my guess. But that's fine. I'll happily wait. I'm really excited about it. I believe that Brand Colonia is the best 5e product on my shelf. As far as looks go, at least, right? Like gorgeous book, perfectly presented.
If I can add anything to this, this is one that got away from me, where I had planned on picking it up and backing it, and then I don't know if I chickened out or what, but I didn't get it. And looking back at it, I'm like, what was I thinking? I should have, because it's gorgeous. Well, it's absolutely.
Let me tell you this. John and chat, you can still get it by heading over to GameFound and doing a late pledge. So it doesn't have to be the one that got away from you.
If you can hear me, my keyboard is ticking away right now.
Click. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to dwell on this one, but it came with a guide to hell, the setting guide. It came with Untold Tales, which is like a game master's guide and a whole bunch of adventures. And then it had an art book that was kind of like the trilogy, hardcover trilogy that it presented with a game master screen and all sorts of stuff. I think I ended up grabbing the game master screen, the player's handbook. Anyhow,
this is cool. This is really cool.
Yep.
All right, well, click. Here we go.
Yep. All right, we're gonna cost money, even even on the wrap up.
Post facto, yeah.
Yep. What you got for number 4?
Yeah. So number 4 is one that is kind of it's not an adventure. It's not a setting. It's the Herbalist Primer. And the Herbalist Primer was a plant, folklore, magic,
Hmm.
occult potion recipes, and game master tools. Everything like a botanist's guide to herbs in a fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it was sold was like this book would actually could end up in a botanist's on a botanist's shelf in the real world. The way that this thing
Yep.
looks, they use actual scientific drawings of both real world and fantasy plants. I haven't gotten this yet, but
Yep.
this is one that I am really, really excited to get because I like world building or things that help me flesh out a world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and look at Lord of the Rings, right? We talk about the King's
Mm-hmm.
Foil. That's like that
Mm-hmm.
was a really critical thing that came up at the right moment in the story, and like I want to know more about it, right? Like the medicinal properties of it, how the elves use it, and things like that. And that's essentially what the herbalist primer does. Is it takes real world plants and talks about their uses for poultices, for herbal concoctions, for like chamomile helps you go to get better sleep or more sleep or wards off
Mm-hmm.
dreams or something like that, to the more like fantastical herbs and how they can be used to bolster potions that are existing, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
just again, this is a something that adds to the immersive ambience of a campaign, and so for
Mm-hmm.
this is one that it's going to have a place of honor on the shelf. I love
Ooh.
love these kinds of books. I
Ah.
hope that they make more that are like it, like barks or like an actual like a guide to poultices and
Mm-hmm.
uh, tinctures and things like that, like a what is it, like a wisdom, like the village wisdom's guide to
Mm.
herbalism use kind of thing would be cool, like a part two. Yeah, I love this kind of
That's
stuff.
awesome. That's awesome. Cool, awesome. I'm glad you grabbed that one.
Mm.
That's one that I did not grab. I'm really curious about it though. So,
Oh man, I'm
I'll
just
be.
they've been sending out updates on it, and it looks gorgeous. There's a lot. There's full color art of it. They go into even the detail about like the different kinds of leaves and leaf structures, and like where they if they have spines around them versus the smooth edges. Again, it's this really great mixture of real and the whimsical, fantastical stuff. And then they've got like black and white diagrams of the different parts of the leaf and how the different part like like wolf's bane. How are the leaves on wolf's bane used, and the roots, and then the petals versus the stamen and things like that. It's really really. They actually had an actual a PhD botanist take a look at this also, and do some editing and recommendations. So they had a consultation from a botanist to really flesh this thing out. It's awesome. I
Hmm.
absolutely love it.
Oh, I love it. Okay, cool, awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, I'm gonna take you guys to Game Found for my number four. I am going to hype a product that is a long time in coming. Vast Grim.
Hmm.
Um, if you recall, Vast Grim was mainly a dice Kickstarter for the most part. Like they kind of, I think, teamed up with Elder Dice and they did a whole bunch of dice sets for it. But they also had an RPG book. And back when we talked about this, which was early in the year, we didn't know squat about GameFound, nor did we know squat about Morkborg, which
Hmm.
is what this book is based around. It's like the sci-fi horror version of Morkborg. Of course, since then we've kind of picked up a bunch of products that way, and we talked about it a lot. Got to run it at this point a little bit. Um, so this one has climbed up my list, and um, the only reason that I'm not as excited about it as it could have been much higher. I'll put it that way.
Hmm.
But it's just so slow in production. Like they kicked out a PDF that's being tweaked. Um, and they've got a proof in from the book. They're getting another proof in, which probably means again we're looking at spring. But this is going to be so long in development, and I'm going to be super excited once it's on the way. But right now, it's just like it's been sitting in the back for so long. It's like it's in the back of the freezer, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I got to talk to these guys at Gen Con, the guy who made this, and he's a really nice guy. He makes the. I think you talked to him maybe too, John. He's the guy who makes those crazy monster like trophy mounts, head
Oh yeah,
mounts,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, he's cool. And I think some of the art in this book kind of is a heavy photoshopped, color saturated iterations of his monster sculpts.
Mm-hmm.
So good. He's found a cool way of implementing those. So
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember you telling me about that one. That's another one that I hadn't picked up on my own, which is interesting, right? Some of these we pick up together. Some of them we pick up them up individually, and it gives us, but we still end up looking at them anyway, right? They'll trade hands, or we'll share back and forth, and we'll pick them up later, quite a bit. So that's another one of those that I probably will end up picking up post facto, based on your recommendation, once it comes out.
Yeah, for sure. What do you got next?
All right, so the next one that I've got is one that we probably are going to end up sharing. I have a feeling, and this is one I'm super excited about. It's in my top 3, but it doesn't hit 1 or 2 just yet. And that is the Mothership First Edition box set. Oh boy, this thing.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Like anybody that doesn't already know about this has hidden under a rock. I mean, like this is just. I am, if nothing else, I'm head over heels in love with the fact that a zine exploded in the public's eye. It captured their attention, and they loved it enough to where this wasn't something that needed Zine Quest anymore to get any traction. It took on a life of its own, and I'm really. I mean, Mothership anyway. I love the concept behind it, and I'm really excited about getting it in my hands. This is another one of those we're gonna have to wait a while to get access to. Probably looking at like Q4 of 2022 at this point, but I went whole hog and went all in. A lot of the times with these Kickstarters, even I struggle with trying to keep up with. I probably owe Kickstarter. Why don't you get like layaway for? They need to do layaway for Kickstarter, so I can just go on a payment plan for a lot of this stuff. But this was one of those where I just went with the deluxe set because it was just it looked so great. There's so much stuff in it. It looks fantastic. I don't know that there's a lot not to love about Mothership for me. Nope. So again, everybody else already knows about it more than likely, but that's definitely in my top 3 for the year.
Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna pull out Low Life. This is one that actually made it home. This is of the zines that I kickstarted this year, and zines have become like my near and dear project. Of the zines that I kickstarted, this one is the one that blew me away. This is the one that I fell in love with when it got here. The writing's great. The book quality is amazing. It's this, if you don't recall it, it's this guide to spelunking kind of. It's about those tight spaces deep within the earth that you find yourself in, and it kind of gives guidance and little systems and little things for you to mess with and present to your players. It's designed kind of for 5e, but with OSR sensibilities, and a lot of it's system neutral. And it's great. It's great. And if I'm going to talk about a book that I got in that's not Brian Colonia, and that came from this year, it's going to be this one. I've been in talks. I think we're going to try to work with the writer, Sam, who we interviewed again during Zine Quest, but we're in talks to get him on board on one of our projects as a guest writer, just because it's an amazing work, and you wanna when somebody does something like that, you wanna try to saddle up beside them and see how they do what they do, because it's cool.
That's a good one too. I like that.
What do you got for number 2?
Oh man, the top 3 were tough. I think for me the number 1 was a clear winner, but man, second place was phenomenal. It is an auxiliary product to the Spire's End franchise that Greg Favreau had put out, and it's Hildegard, which is if you think about it, for those that may have missed this when we talked about it previously, think about Choose Your Own Adventure book from the glory days of the Choose Your Own Adventure series. Think about that, like Lone Wolf like that series. It's but in card form. Like you have a stack of 400 cards that help you tell a story, and it branches out based on the next card that comes in. And you still have a character, and you have monsters that you'll end up fighting, things that you'll end up like items that you'll end up gaining. You'll have story items that are necessary in order to continue forward, and it's possible that you go down a branch and you suffer a grim fate. But it is a solo adventure, solo and cooperative. I take that, so you can actually play it with people or without people. The artwork's gorgeous. I'm so excited. Like, this is one game that it's when it gets here to my house and I unpackage this thing. I'll wait until no one else is around, I'll go to the coffee table when all the kids are asleep. My wife is watching something or listening to like a true crime drama podcast or something like that, and I'll sit out and I'll play it by myself. I'm excited to play this one as much as I have been excited to like introduce other people to it.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This is a really, really good one. I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. This is. I mean, I still have the number one is clear, but number two, man, there's just the only reason it's two is just because of how much more I loved one. Honestly, this is a fantastic find.
Well, my number two is going to be one that you already covered, which is Mothership. I don't know that I have any more to say there. The only other thing I'll say is that as someone who played the beta version, the things that I didn't like about it, which were few, not many, are the exact things that they are updating, revising, and presenting a much better version of, I believe, in wanting. So I already love the system, and now they're dropping they dropped a Kickstarter that fixes everything. I think is going to fix everything that I had a problem with, namely combat. So it's a huge win. I think the only thing that kept it from hitting number one for me was that I adore the Alien RPG so much, and now I have two RPGs that are competing for the exact same slot. As far as like, one of them is going to win, right? I'm not like I'm either going to commit to the Alien system and just grab Morkborg stuff or Mothership stuff and put it in, like copy it over, or I'm going to do the opposite, right? Like, I'm not going to walk probably down the line of utilizing both systems. So because it has competition, it's at number two.
Gotcha.
Bear Droid, you won't be disappointed. I will say that if you are interested in Mothership, you can get a copy of the PDF on DriveThruRPG right now as a pay-what-you-want option. If you wait a few weeks, you will also be able to get the updated first edition PDF at the same pay-what-you-want price. So with the official rules. So they made the statement that basically their player's handbook will always be as free as you want it to be in digital form.
Yep.
All right, there's a possibility here. I'm curious that we might have the same number one.
I'm going to come in with a dark horse for my number one.
Okay, well then we definitely don't. Yeah. So tell me what you got.
So for me, mine is not even a tabletop RPG book or a product. Right? Super shocker. The Kickstarter that I was the most excited about this year is one that is probably the saddest. Could have been the saddest result, but turned out okay. And that was Hand-Drawn Game Guides by Philip Summer. It is essentially this guy took some grid paper, dotted grid paper journals, and he drew out game guides from start to finish for The Legend of Zelda, Ninja Gaiden, Metroid, and then he put a Kickstarter up, and he did like watercolors to color it out, and they were absolutely gorgeous. And for me, it hit the nostalgia. It scratched that itch for me. Those are some of my favorite games that I played whenever I was a kid. So I loved the art, and I just can't get enough of that kind of stuff. So those three books on my shelf would have been phenomenal. Unfortunately, what happened, the guy that insists that he did not get a cease and desist letter from from Nintendo. Instead, maybe like a separate lawyer or one of the Nintendo lawyers reached out and said, "Hey, this is a kind of a gray area, and you probably want to stifle this." And as a result, he killed the Kickstarter, which is sad because it was at like $350,000 for backing at that point, and he had to pull out. So that's the sad part. The maybe a good ending, the okay ending is that he's still in talks with them to do something. Like maybe he may not be able to use what he's got, but he may be able to do something else for them. And he did get hired out by some of these. We talked about it before, where some companies are still doing creating NES games for the NES, and he created the same kind of game guide for one of these companies. So they paid him to do that, which is kind of a neat thing. The other good thing is it didn't go to waste. When he closed out the Kickstarter, had some additional internal discussions with his lawyer, he released the Metroid and Legend of Zelda books to all of the backers that backed him for free in PDF form. So I've got those, and they're gorgeous. It is the saddest thing is I'm not gonna be able to put these things on my shelf, so I'm pretty bummed about that. But that's the one that
got away.
It's bittersweet. You know, I can still see what it could have been, which just makes it that much more painful, honestly. That was mine.
Wow. Yeah. Ugh. Gross. Well, I'm gonna have a success story to counter yours with. One Ring, second edition.
Oh yeah, that should have been on my top 5 in there too. I don't know. Like maybe I guess Tomb of Immolation would have been the one that I'd have to bump, but you're right. I didn't back it. I didn't think to back it.
It's on the way, right? Yeah. Like that's why it's a success. Is like it's delivered. You know, Craig said at the beginning, this is going to be the Free League hour. It really wasn't the Free League hour, mainly because Free League didn't have a lot of Kickstarters this year. I mean, the ones they had were like expansions, which are, but this looks amazing, and I am so excited about this that I've given it the. Zac is super excited about a movie, so he refuses to watch any trailers treatment. I know nothing about this book, right? I saw a couple pieces of art from the Kickstarter. I did not read the Kickstarter. I have not read any of the updates. I have not looked at the PDF. I will not touch it until I have it in hand, because I'm ready. That's where we're at. So.
That's a lot of faith in it. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're going to like it or not. You're going to go for it. You're all in just based on the name alone, right? Well, and Free League, right? I think that's where you can get you double up on what you can trust in a product. You trust the brand that it's going to be good, and you trust the publisher that's putting it together to put together a good product.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, I mean, like honestly, even more so than Lord of the Rings, kudos to Free League for kind of engendering that kind of trust, and that like they have a fan base, right?
Yeah.
Like it's much in the same way that Wizards of the Coast or like Fantasy Flight Games or anything like that does, being able to put that kind of confidence in fans.
Free League is Modiphius is there right now. But I think, honestly, in 2 years, Free League has a chance of giving Wizards of the Coast a run for their money.
I hope they do.
For RPGs.
Hell yeah. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that.
Because they're firing on all cylinders. Everything is awesome that they're putting out. And it has accessibility that I don't think Modiphius quite has with their systems. So I think Free League has the number 1 slot in their sites, and it's theirs to gain if they want it.
I'll tell you what, I really liked their stuff before I went to their booth at Origins. But after going to the booth and talking to the guys that were there, how passionate they are, how excited they are about it, that's something that goes that much further for me. That I'm like, not only am I like looking forward to the product, but I'm rooting for the company and the people that are backing it up.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yep.
It's great. Can't say any more than that. So that was our top 5s, right? Nice, sweet. Easy going. Troy doesn't like it when we do this, but I'm going to do it because he's not here. So we did our top 5s, but you know what? As much as chat might think that we're like the end all be all for RPGs and what's good, the truth is that there's other voices out there. And so in our next episode, which is coming right after this one, we're going to talk about what other people thought about 2021 and the best sellers. And there's going to be some stuff in there that is really, really interesting. So that's it for this episode. Thank you, John, for hanging out with me for this one. Thanks to chat. And stay tuned for an upcoming episode where we talk about everybody else's thoughts.
Everybody take care and stay safe.
Great game, everyone.
Yeah, and great games. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Zach.
All right, we're back. So we're going to do another episode, and it's going to be nice and punchy, I think, just like that one. That one, I think we did pretty good. Looking at our
40
time
minutes?
window here.
30.
Yeah, about 40 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah, somewhere in there. So we're going to roll right into this next one. I think you're going to get a good kick out of it. I've got a surprise for John. Surprise, like, short discussion piece
Okay.
during this one. All right. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Bite Size Gaming Podcast, the podcast that's serving up a buffet of RPG topics to get you through your week. My name is Zach, and the host joining me this evening is John Christian.
Good evening, Zach. Good evening, everyone.
Can you believe, now, I don't want to spoil too much without Troy being here, but that might have been the last time that we say that.
It is. Yeah, I think you're right. Crazy, man. It's insane. 2 years now.
2 years.
2 years. Glorious.
And we may be approaching the end in a good way.
Yes.
But here, we're not here to talk about the end. Well, we are, actually. We're here to talk about the end of 2021. And like we said in a previous episode, what other people thought. What was the best sellers of 2021? That's what we're going to talk about today. And we've got some numbers to share with you all, largely from Drive-Thru RPG, and where the chips fell on that side of things. That said, John.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Last time we talked about the most exciting Kickstarters that we backed, but what we didn't talk about was what's the product that gets John Christian's Product of the Year award for 2021?
Oh my God! Like the thing that I gushed over the most.
It doesn't have to be. But here's the thing, right? It just has to be something that you discovered in 2021. It doesn't have to be new to 2021. It could be the oldest thing on your shelf. But if you found it in 2021 and it's your favorite thing, I want to hear about it.
Is this one that I should? There's a particular answer that I should give, or is this? Or
I don't think so. But...
Okay. I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most this year,
Craig,
Monopoly. Oh my God! Have you played this game of Monopoly? You'll blow your mind. No. It's so. Oh man. Okay. As soon as you asked, what immediately came to mind was the Goonies board game.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Like, oh my God, it's awful. I feel like such an idiot because I played it, and it was just, I loved every single thing about it. There wasn't one thing about it for me. And I'm not saying this for anybody else, but for me, it was the perfect board game because it was like this gateway drug into role-playing games that could get people into D&D and all these other great things, into the hobby that I love the most, right? It's an IP that I absolutely adore. I played it with my buddies in high school, the same guys that we would have been Goonies together when we were kids. I played it with them, and I played it with my kid at the same time. Like, he got to get in on it. Man, there's just nothing about this game that I didn't love. Absolutely nothing. And it was one of those where it might not have even happened. Like, one of my buddies, I'm not usually a fan of IP based board games because they're really, really hit or miss. And so one of my friends, Alan, picked it up. He's like, he got it at Target on the cheap, and he's like, let's see what's up with it, see if we like it or not. And I was kind of side-eyed it, and then we played it together, and I was like, this is amazing. And of course, The embarrassing part is not how much I loved it, but just how much I badgered the hell out of everybody to play it. And we need to play it more. Like my family needs to play it more. And we played it when we all got together, right? So, but yeah, that's easily the one that beats out for me.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think the other thing about it, right, is that it filled a void that we didn't know was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it fills this gap of like a solid step into RPGs from board games, but the most approachable of steps, but also not the like the half-assed or like overly simplified, like to the point where it doesn't have any meat on the bones, right? Like there's some interesting stuff that that game wants to do. And that I think is the hallmark of not just a great beginner game or a great
Mm-hmm.
introductory game, but just a great game, period.
Yeah.
So I'm on board.
Well, and to your point too, right? We've talked before about what's the best game for people to play
Yeah.
to get them into tabletop RPGs. It's hard for me not to say that game because that's effectively what it is. It's a board game. It feels very board gamey, but it's also very tabletop RPG. Like there's like one person that's at the head of the table that's the dungeon master. Everybody else is a player, but everything's just simplified to a point where it's easy to glom onto the concept of what an RPG is without like it being super complicated and daunting for a person that's never come into it before.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Well, here I'll throw my hat in the ring with the Alien RPG. That's my win. I got it back in 2020 is when I got the starter box, but I didn't get to run it until this year. And I was blown away when I opened that box, and it's the perfect system that emulates the setting, scenarios, themes of its source material perfectly. It's simple enough that it doesn't get in the way, but it's complex enough that it actually, like we just said with Goonies, it's doing something. And that's something that I've just like if there's something that really has stood out to me about some of these great games that we've been playing, it's when a system is like, you know what's good about this as a story or as a setting or as a whatever, it's this, and we're gonna figure out a way for that to be a part of the mechanics, not just flavor but mechanics, and it doesn't get better. At this point, it has not gotten better than Alien.
I'm with you 100%. I support this being your number one, right? I like fully support it because not only do I agree with everything that you're saying, but as a player who sat in on a game that you ran of it, it made me want to play more. That's exactly what you're looking for in a game. Like it hit every single hallmark, all the little bits that made everything that's great about Alien and made it Alien that makes the movie stand out from all the other sci-fi movies that are out there. Everything, those things are perfectly distilled and placed into this game in a way that doesn't seem, I guess it doesn't seem clunky, right?
And yeah, the book is one of the best written starter books or just adventure books, period, that I've ever picked up. Paradroid's asking Alien RPG or Mothership. Right now, I'd say Alien RPG. Because Mothership's current rule set that you can get has some clunky bits. But that adventure book is set up in 3 acts, and then every act has like, here's a map, here's all the things that are in these areas of the map, but then here for this act, here's a set of events that you can drop in wherever you want. And some of them are mandatory, like, hey, before the end of this act, these things need to happen. And some of them are, they can happen. These can happen if you want them to happen. That is so useful that the descriptions and the little events and things that happen in each room are contained, and I can just, as the players roll through, I can be like, oh yeah, this happens here, and I have in my back pocket like 12 things for each part of this story that I'm like, I can wait for the perfect time and drop it in. And I know that it's going to work and that it's working as intended, right? Like it's amazing. It's an amazing book to run as a GM. Every dungeon crawl should be like that, in my opinion. It's just perfect.
Well, and one of the things that I want so badly in my games is I want anticipation and anxiety in the games. I want that tension and release, and the mechanics for Alien RPG, man,
tension
like,
and release
in spades. There's like it's perfect. The mechanics put that in there perfectly to where it gives. It ratchets up the or the tension, and then you have then something bad happens. Finally bad happens, but it's but you're still up so far that you just it's that escalator upward until everybody dies or an alien erupts from somebody's chest or something like that. It's like then that's not even just something that the dungeon master or the game master is responsible for. That's the mechanics are lending themselves to doing it, to making sure that that's taken care of.
Yeah. Can let's just end this recording now and play Alien. That's where I'm at.
There we go. Let's do it. Here we go.
Okay. Well, here. No, let's dive into our real topic for the evening. We're going to talk about some of these bestsellers of 2021 for RPGs. We're not going to cover all of them. Geek Native has been working with Drive-Thru RPG to get some data behind the scenes about what their best-selling games are, products are in a variety of different genres. We don't have them all out right now, but we have best-selling sci-fi RPGs for 2021, best-selling modern RPGs for 2021, and best-selling historical RPGs for 2021. Now, these are check boxes that when you make a product, you put a product on Drive-Thru, it says, what of these genres does your product fit? And you as the creator check these boxes, right? So you might look at some of these and say, that doesn't seem like a historical. Well, the creator checked that box, and for them it is that. So that's where we're going to be, right? We're not we have the top 20 of all of them. We can post the links so you can look at all of them. I would like to start with, because we were just talking about sci-fi, I'd like to start with sci-fi, John. And I think we just pick out the ones that come to mind and see where we go. Let's start with the shocker, I think. Dune and Fallout, both by Modifius, both 2D20 systems, number 1 and number 2 slots.
Right.
For sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. That is incredible. I know that they're big. I know that they're big names. I know that that's a draw. But I've never talked to anybody, and if you look on the internet, there's very, very few people out there who defend the 2D20 system.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've grown to really like it and appreciate it, and it's fun for me. But, if you were to ask me what's the greatest system of all time, or the greatest system out there, it's not going to be that one. And it's they've got Dune, they've got Fallout in the top, and then if you scroll on down a bit, at number 11 they've got Star Trek. That's crazy.
I mean, some of these in here you're not going to be super shocked by. Esper Genesis, the 5e Master Tacticians or Technicians Guide, right? Esper Genesis being out there. The Alien RPG Colonial Marines Operations Manual, that's not a giant shocker. Again, you're looking at a recognizable IP that's going to be eye-catching. As soon as somebody looks at those on our Drive-Thru RPG on that front page, as soon as they roll up, it's going to catch their eyes and get somebody interested in it.
Wrath and Glory, the 40K ones on there.
Yep, absolutely. Right, yeah, Wrath and Glory, yeah, exactly.
18.
Yep.
You got a couple of Shadowrun products on there. You got a BattleTech coming in at the end, and towards the middle there's a couple BattleTech ones.
There was one that I was actually really surprised by, Mongoose with 2300 AD. That's one that I had just vaguely heard about. That's just out there in the ether. But it wasn't enough I hadn't heard a groundswell from anybody about a lot of interest in it, but it's sitting in the top 10 for sci-fis.
Yeah, that one's weird. I had never heard of Hardwired Island by Weird Age Games. Never heard of that. Never. and it's hanging out in number 7. Crazy, crazy.
Yeah, and I think that I wonder if they're constituting sci-fi as superhero also, because Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition is kind of like is a superhero game that got plugged in here also, and that's another one that I hadn't even heard of at all. I mean, you can tell what they were going for in it. You've got a Captain America knockoff, Batman, Superman, maybe like a Hawk. What is it? Hawkman equivalent that's on there also. Some of these I'd never even heard of. I had heard one that I had heard of that I've heard really good things about was 5 Parsecs from Home, which is a solo adventure out there. It's a 184 page PDF, and it's really it's RPG light, so solo adventure war game that you can go through on your own. I've heard really good stuff about it. This is another one from Modifius too. So that's actually something to consider, as how many of these in the top 10 are Modifius games, right? Or
Yeah,
the top 5, I should say, right?
It's a matter. Some of this is a matter of like obviously the biggest companies have the biggest reach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where some of it sits. Bear Droid is asking if Cyberpunk made the list. Cyberpunk did not make the list.
Did not.
Part of that is because I think some of it came out in 2020.
Hmm.
And so it probably got a big chunk of its sales then. So there's a note there, but yeah, nothing Cyberpunk hit the list, at least not from Project Red. Anything else that we want to talk about as far as weird or interesting on sci-fi? But I know we're kind of all over the place, but really we're just, I mean, let me run down the top 5 from 1 to 5 just for people at home. Dune, Adventures in the Imperium was number 1. Fallout was number 2. SCP, the tabletop RPG by 26 Letter Publishing was number 3. I don't know much about it. I looked into it a little bit. Still couldn't tell you much about it. 5 Parsecs from Home is number 4. And Alien RPG Colonial Marines Operation Manual is number 5. Again, a lot of the other books came out last year, so this book's getting all the love and attention this year there. But you should probably take from that the sales for Alien are still going very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if it had came out a little bit later, if we had a fantasy list here, we might see One Ring already at the top, because I think it's just destroying on drive-thru right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's pop. Do you want to do modern or historical next?
Let's do modern.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. What can we say about modern? There is a ton of Onyx Path Publishing, a ton of Vampire Masquerade.
Yeah, and Catalyst Game Labs is in here quite a bit too, from what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Modern has a weird tag, like you're gonna see, there's stuff in here that you're gonna be like, that is not modern. Right. But for them it is. Okay, so let's do the 1 to 5 real quick. Number 1 is Cult of the Blood Gods. That's Vampire the Masquerade by Renegade Games. That's an expansion thing from it. It's a cool product. I've looked at it a lot. I don't own it, but it looks cool. Then we have Delta Green Impossible Landscapes. Delta Green making a lot of the lists.
This looks like an expansion that has like new entities, artifacts, tomes, things like that, new NPCs to expand the Delta Green universe.
Yep. Then we have Deviant the Renegades, which I believe that is that's another Onyx Path, and I believe it's another. Is that another World of Darkness one?
I don't.
Or is it just kind of them?
I think it's yeah. I think it's in that. It's the same kind of genre, but I don't think it's linked to World of Darkness.
Yeah, and it's complete guide to playing Deviant in the Chronicles of Darkness. From psychics to cyborgs, from freaks of nature to abominations of science. Interesting. I don't know anything about this, but it feels like a World of Darkness product, even if it's not one, right?
Yeah.
And then let's see, we've got that at number 3. Sentinel Comics, the role-playing game core rulebook, is sitting at number 4. This was recommended to me actually at GameholeCon as like a really, really good superhero RPG.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about it, but I was told like if you're interested in superheroes and can't wait for Marvel, this is a great one to sink your teeth into.
Which, and again, this goes back to the weird categorization of drive-through RPG, because I was just saying Prowlers and Paragons was in sci-fi, but then Sentinel Comics core rulebook is in modern, right? So I had also had some experience looking at the Sentinel comics role-playing game. The rules are really easy to learn to get through. They're light on crunch. There are a wide swath of powers and abilities that you can use to create your heroes. I think it actually incorporates. There's at least one, or maybe even two adventures that are included in the core rulebook, also, which is really like we've always said is incredibly smart and totally necessary. Even if it's like a bolt-on PDF that's available, you need to have something to get people into the game and get them moving. This is one that I've heard good things about, and I've actually had some like a peephole view into it, and it's one that I could probably end up picking up eventually if I were to start running superhero games. This probably would actually want to be one of my go-tos. Between this, there are like 2 or 3 other products that I might have to choose between.
Yep. Chaos 8 there in chat. Andrew is telling us that Deviant is a World of Darkness product. So thanks to chat for adding clarity. Perfect. You can tell that John and I are not currently World of Darkness people in any meaningful way. So any lack of knowledge on our end isn't because we don't think it looks interesting. It's because it's one that we haven't gotten to sink our teeth into. Speaking of sinking your teeth into, Children of the Blood and Trails of Ash and Bone take up number 5 and number 6. Both of those are Masquerade official products by Renegade Games. Renegade Games coming out swinging this year after taking over the World of Darkness product line, or the Vampire World of Darkness product line. And then if you just bebop down this list, you're going to see a bunch of other World of Darkness products in the top 20.
Yeah.
Just filled with it.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of. There are 4 more Shadowrun books that are in here. You've also got one that I feel like it's a shame that it didn't get more love. One that, and I probably have a biased opinion on it, but just because of the positive experience that I had playing in it, and that was Tiny Cthulhu. I really enjoy the tiny dungeon system, and Tiny Cthulhu in particular, and how it's like super open it is. It doesn't worry. There's like very, very little crunch. What die rolls are there are just because almost like out of an obligation to roll some dice in order to say whether or not you accomplish something or not. Otherwise, it's very open ended and very free form in the way that the way the games run, which is nice. And the books are small. You can just throw it into your backpack. It's not going to it's not going to be a heavy load. And if you want some Cthulhu on the go, that's probably the book that you want to end up taking with you.
Cool. Yeah, great list. Right. Let's round it out with a talk about historical RPG. This is where we get weird, folks. When they check the box historical, what they're really saying is we reference a place on the United States, or on the world's atlas, in a point in time other than this one at some point in our book. It is very much not historical. All right, let's start at the top and then we'll work our way down. Blaster Volume 3 is at the top, and basically this confirms to me that I am missing out by not sinking my teeth into Blaster. I know so very little other than it looks awesome. I've looked at it numerous times, and I've just never bitten the bullet and ordered a copy. I couldn't even tell you that much about it. I think it's like an anthology series of RPGs that you can just play through. I think it's like almost like a magazine sort of a thing, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know much about Blaster either. This is another one of those where I'm surprised that it's at the top of the list, and I
Oh,
may have heard about it, but not much.
oh, listen. Here we go. What is Blaster? This is at the bottom of their thing here. What happens when five of Wargaming's most talented indie designers are teamed up with an incredible graphic artist? The answer is a unique anthology product. New rules for your favorite indie titles, new games ripped right from the minds of Wargaming's most prolific collective of published writers, and insights into the process of writing and creating games. Yeah, this is like I'm looking here. I'm seeing there's a little thing for Rangers of Shadowdeep there, which is a tactics minis game with some narrative elements. There's a self-contained book like RPG. Um, this is not a test. There's a supplement for that one. Just a bunch of cool
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So Blaster took the number 1 spot. Blaster Volume 3. Mythic Babylon took number 2. Mythic Babylon is
This is actually one that I purchased this
oh
earlier in the
really?
year.
Okay, well,
This is pretty cool. This is actually based on, it's a supplement for the Mithras gaming system, and it
okay.
is, I think it's in a good spot being in the in this historical categorization. It's just mythic historical, but it's set in Mesopotamia, and it's very Greek oriented, right? So it's like a very like a the Odyssey or Odysseus, like a lot like a Greek epic or an ode, um, and it's it's very political and not like super duper crunchy. There's a little bit of everything that's in it, but the main thrust of the book is about the politics at the time, and I think it's 18th century BC, or yeah, 18th century BC, where the cutthroat diplomacy and Machiavellian politics and like ecstatic profits, right? So if you're wanting to play something that's like a Theros kind of vibe, but dialing back on the super powered mythic epicness and a little bit closer to, not realistic, right, but closer to it, then Mythic Babylon is where I would go for that. It's just interesting. I've always been a student of Greek mythology, and I thought that it caught my eye, so I went and picked it up a couple months ago.
Fascinating. All right, so number 3 is The Between by The Gauntlet. The Between is a Victorian era London, basically Monster of the Week, if you remember
Mm-hmm.
our this is Monster of the Week in London, inspired by the Penny Dreadful TV show, and it comes with a whole bunch of things to kind of help you, like handbooks, which are like their classes, things like that to help you get set into the mindset. This is cool. I didn't know about this before. If I find this in physical form somewhere, I will probably own it. That's where I'm at with this one, because I think this is a great mix, powered by the apocalypse, Monster of the Week style thing with Victorian era London. I'll own this probably at some point. And then number 5 is another system that will. This one is on my list of I'm going to buy this. Just give me a moment, sort of a
Put it in the
thing.
hopper.
Yeah.
It's in the queue.
The Zweihander. Is that
Yeah,
how you pronounce
yeah.
it? The Zweihander.
Zweihände, which is two-hander in German. Yeah.
Yeah, RPG. Flames of Freedom, the grim and perilous RPG core rulebook. I don't really care if I get the Flames of Freedom one. I just want to try Zweihander. That's where I'm at.
There you go. This one's cool because it's set during the Revolutionary War, but there's a supernatural angle to it. Agents of the occult entreat both Continental Army and Redcoats. Freemasons conspire in the city of brotherly love. Maryland is in the throes of a witch hunt by the Knights Templar. It's pretty cool. This is like a alternate history kind of thing where there's more supernatural, but it's not incredible. It's not as supernatural as like a Deadlands, like a really overt alt history. This is more people rationalize the supernatural more and refuse to believe in what it is, and they're more secret societies like the Freemasons and things like that are kind of at play, political factions outside of just Britain and young America vying for control of
Interesting.
the new country, the new world.
Now, what's crazy here is that Zweihander, or whatever he is, also published that Neverland
Oh
5e
yeah.
Peter Pan book,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really great book. But I almost backed the Blackbirds setting, or the Blackbirds RPG that uses the same rule set
Mm.
this year on Kickstarter. Didn't quite pull the trigger, but I'm probably going to regret not doing so. Because I think this is one that I'm going to try out, and my suspicion is I fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rounding out number 5, Through the Breach RPG from Nightmares by Weird Miniatures. Um,
Yeah, I have no idea. This is a new one
no
for me,
idea.
right?
This
But
is
yeah, which to be honest, a lot of these are not. Like I know some of these, like Achtung, Cthulhu 2D20, Player's Guide by Modifius, and a couple of others. Tiny Cthulhu showed up at 6, but I'm not super familiar with Through the Breach, the RPG, where by
uh-uh.
Weird Miniatures. I don't. What system is it? Is it its own? I
I think
guess.
it's its own system if I recall. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say that I'm gonna be
The
wrong.
book provides
But
adventures with exciting new character creation options. So this is an extension of another core book that they've got out there. The Through the Breach role playing game. Oh,
mhm.
from Nightmares is that's the expansion book, and Through the Breach is the actual RPG. I see.
Yeah. Through the Breach to me looks like a horrific game set in like Victorian era that
Mm-hmm.
deals with all sorts of monsters and kind of has a penny. It uses the Penny Dreadful themes a lot
Mm-hmm.
there as well. Um, Monsters, magic, and steel collide. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not opposed to trying this. This looks cool. I would give this a go.
Yeah, this is one of those that I'd like to at a convention. I'd like to play. Somebody that's
Mhm.
really passionate about it and really like sell me on it. Sell me on how much I should
There's
really
a
enjoy
lot
it.
of product for it. A lot of
Yeah.
product, a lot of adventures. Jeez Louise. Um, okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. What else could we say? Because that's number 5. Tiny Cthulhu just missed that list.
Mm-hmm.
Brand Colonia just missed the top 5. Um, uh, Akjung Cthulhu is in at number 10, which is cool.
They got another one in 15 for the Game Master's Guide too.
Yep, yep.
Legend of the
Uh,
Five Rings is in there.
Legend of the Five
Yeah,
Rings.
Brent Colonia's
Brand
in there twice
Colonia's.
actually. Yeah.
That's their that is their adventure book, I believe, is what's coming in almost there at the end. Um, First official expansion. In this book, you'll find new options, new spells. Yep, yep. It's just more stuff. I can't remember how that got unlocked. It might have been through stretch goals during the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
It's a lot, man. That's I think that as much as what I learned from things like this is as much as we try to have our finger on the pulse of all the different types of games that are out there, the market is
There's so much
so
more out there.
massive, especially the independent market and these small game companies that pop up and create really fantastic product. It's just buried under a mountain of other stuff that's out there. It's impossible to keep up with every
I
single bit
will
of it.
I will be doing this every year if I can from here on
Mm,
out because like I look through these lists I'm like just recharge my list of things that I need to own.
right? Yeah,
this
exactly.
this this discussion cost me money and these lists should cost everyone money because
Mm,
there's something in here for you. And it's cool. Like I'm excited to like these are a lot of these are products that didn't hit Kickstarter and so they flew under our radar, right? A little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So anything else you want to cover from these lists before we I know so the thing that I think we should have made clear before is obviously these are best sellers from Drive Through RPG.
Right.
So as cool as these lists are, you can't like the fact that, certain companies were not on this list or certain major products is probably because they weren't on Drive Through, right? Like that's the simple answer, right? Like why isn't Starfinder on the sci-fi list? Probably because it wasn't on Drive Through. Like that's gonna be my guess. Um, who knows? Bear Droid is asking if there's no list for fantasy. I'm sure there will be. It's not out yet though. You can follow along with these lists by hopping over to Geek Native tabletop.com. That's where they're being posted. Specifically, they are being written by a man named Andrew Girdwood. And he looks like he's putting out one every weekday. So I'd expect maybe one to come out tomorrow. Last year, he put out like 8 different lists. So, yeah. All right, John. Anything else we should cover in this episode here?
I don't think so. I think I mean, if we really wanted to dip into, I did a quick look and drive through RPG, just looking at the top 10 that they've got that are currently out there in hottest fantasy. The One Ring is number 2 right now.
What? Oh, it's Root.
Root, is that number the role playing game, is number 1. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yep, it's that's getting a lot of hype.
But it looks this one like Root to me makes a lot of sense because it's got like broad appeal, with it's kind of like that the cartoony vibe.
Well, and One Ring's been sitting there for 2 months, so like if you haven't bought it yet, you probably don't care about it,
right?
Or just hard. I would say that I'm also really excited that Minsk and Boo's Journal of Villainy is still in the top. It's a great book. Like, as far as like if we're going to talk about the best 5e D&D Dungeons and Dragons, like Forgotten Realms book, guess what? It's not put out by Wizards. The best D&D book of this year is Minsk and Boo's Journal of Villainy. That book is amazing. It's amazing.
Yep.
If you like Forgotten Realms, you should own that book tonight.
So Andrew's asking about Root, the role playing game. The Root RPG contains, it's like unique playbooks which are built to help you create vagabonds, or a vagabond is essentially your character that you build out, that echo in the woodland. So this is that anthropomorphic animal genre, that like Mouse Guard, Secret of Nim kind of vibe. There was a board game, I think, at some point.
And it's PBTA. We should know. If you don't, John, you said playbooks, but it's a Powered by the Apocalypse game with the Root aesthetic. Like,
I got you.
Of it, right?
I got you. Yeah. I'm with you now. I got you. Yep. Yeah, so they've got you have the core book that's out, and there are several expansions that they've already got out as well. But this is actually a part of a bundle. It looks like that they've offered up on drive-through.
Yeah,
and that's the one. That's what's actually at number 1 is the bundle.
Yeah. Whew. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode. Appreciate everyone for hanging out. We mentioned at the beginning that this might be the end. It's not going to be the end for this podcast, though we might take on a different name and do some other things after the first of the year. What I can say, though, is you may have heard it before. There's probably already talked. By the time this episode drops, there's probably going to be talk about it in our Discord chat quite heavily. But we are going to take the first few, I think we'll say few for now. The first few nights off of streaming in January. So I think right now we're looking at maybe removing the 4th, the 9th, and the 11th. Are those the ones we're looking at? Or was it the 9th, the 11th, and 16th? 9th and 11th and the 16th, right? Yep. I don't remember.
9th, 11th, and we'll make a triumphant return for the 18th. Yep.
Yeah. So 9th, 11th, and 16th. We're looking at not doing live streams. There will still be episodes dropping in because we've been doing multiple episodes for the past few weeks to get our backlog kind of loaded up for the podcast. And instead, we are going to be running or offering to run games for you fine folks in our community. I don't know. We have not determined what we're going to be running. Or exactly when, other than that night of the 11th, January 11th, that Tuesday, we'll 100% be running some games that evening. So you could earmark that. The Sundays, I think, at least on my end, and probably on Troy's end, we're going to be a bit more flexible on. You might even find an afternoon game, at least afternoon here in the States during that time. And I think games are to be determined. Do you have any ideas what you kind of talked about what you might run, John, for one of your offerings?
We've talked about it before, like our top 3 like dream list of games that we want to either run or play in. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll bite the bullet gladly. I'm probably looking at either Kids on Bikes or Tales from the Loop. More than likely, Tales from the Loop is the one that I'll end up playing. But it'll play like a Kids on Bikes, Stranger Things, Goonies kind of vibe. Yeah. Looking at that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super excited. Listen, chat. If you don't sign up for John's game, then I'm going to. So that's where it's going to be. Well, and I think that probably goes to say that like we'll be playing in each other's games, but first and foremost, if there's not people to fill the slots, we'll slide in. But what we're going to try to do is let you guys have like first dibs. We'll post it in our Discord. We'll just first come, first serve. But our goal is that we run 3, 4, 5 games in total. And let you guys hang out because we miss playing with some of you at virtual weekends. Some of you, not Girk, but some of you.
I've missed killing some of you at virtual weekends. Your players or your characters, I mean, not players, of course.
Yeah. What I can say, I will probably run a Morkborg game for chat because I think that's fun that'll be really fun as a one shot. I don't have an answer for something else at the moment, but I think we'll probably just throw up like my guess is I'll probably throw 2 games into the mix. You'll probably throw 1 or 2 in the mix. Troy will probably throw 1 or 2 in the mix, and if some of them don't fill, because some of them are going to be at the same times or whatnot, that's fine. We'll mix and match. But
yeah, Andrew's asking about how many players we'd end up having at the tables. I'm comfortable with probably like 5. That way it's not packed as tight as an Adventurers League.
Yeah.
Unless you have a preference, Zach, that you'd prefer.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere around there. And I'm messing with you, Girk. No, we want anybody, if you're listening to the podcast.
Yes.
Or if you're with us on the live stream, this is your warning. Though it's probably already been warned in Discord at this point by the time this episode drops. But this is another warning to get your butt into Discord and be aware because we want you to be a part of this. And I'm saying all this, and Troy might be like, Zach, that episode is going to drop on the 16th.
Well, it needs to drop sooner. This needs to be like a special episode that drops later this week.
Maybe I'll wrangle into it. But yeah, I think 9. Craig's like, 9, oh my God, run 9 to show your skills.
I'm even willing to take what I think. What I may end up doing is I'll throw it out to Discord. Again, let me further bait everyone out there to make sure that you show up to Discord. I'll put out there and I'll say, like, here are 3, and I'll let the players to be. I'll let them determine which one it would be, like a Dragonlance one shot, since I'm the Dragonlance nerd of the show, or Tales from the Loop. What was one of the other ones I was thinking about doing too? Like a Star Wars one shot would be pretty cool, or Camp Clearwater Massacre was one that I refined down to an actual workable 4-hour session. I swear. It was like a 12-hour the way we were running it before, but I've learned since then. So if you want to do like a slasher 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons slasher type thing, that's pretty cool. So something like that.
Awesome.
Look at Valenaz. Aw, you would play in a Dragonlance game if I was running it.
You know what?
That's like important. Like that hype worries me, man. That hype worries me.
Well, and listen, there's an undertone there that you should be aware of, which is that they kind of feel like Dragonlance is overrated, but they want to play in one of your games. So like, I'll put up with Dragonlance for John.
That's cool, man. Thanks. Yeah. You know what? I can count on you to keep me humble, Zach. Thank you. I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was like, that was a compliment.
Listen, there is a compliment there saying that they are willing to put up with the overhype of Dragonlance in order to get into a John Christian game.
That's okay. That was a double-edged knife right there.
Either way, if you accept it, you must accept all of it, and if you reject it, you must reject all of it. Yeah, that's where
thank
we're
you. Okay, so Craig, by the way, what you're putting out there about playing all Kinders, depending on how it goes with the Dragonlance setting this year, cool. I've got the scratch for your itch when it comes to that, and that's all I'm going to leave it at. If the setting comes out this year, as soon as it comes out, I've already got plans, so we'll TBD from there.
All right. Well, with that, thanks, John, for hanging out. This will be the last. Probably we might sneak in for a Tuesday night recording, but this will probably be the last episode for the year, live recorded, and we'll see what we come back with in January. To shock and amaze you, or just be like, yeah, sure, that bare minimum, great, good job, guys.
Right.
You changed your name.
Wow. Same old, same idiots running the same slop.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Bear Droid, Craig, Velanaz, Chaos 8, Gurk. I saw our friend Dave Burkhart was in chat for a bit. Who else am I missing here, John?
I think that's everybody. I think you got everybody. And if not, then you know who you are. You can complain about it in Discord.
Kill-A-Lot was in here.
Yep, Kill-A-Lot's in there.
All right. Yep. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a bit.
Everybody have a great game and stay safe out there.